Is it, in fact, time to hit the panic button in the Big 12? I think it is, because you look at the continuing struggles at Oklahoma State. Utah, it goes without saying, with 3 losses, you're eliminated. And there is a lack of respect at the top of this conference. I don't think anybody believes that BYU is a national championship contender. And maybe they cement that and show that on a week in and week out basis. I don't know. But when I look at this situation and you look at what's going on across the rest of college football, you're likely getting 4 in at a minimum from the SEC. And we're going to talk about the AP poll coming up. How is Georgia not the number 1 team in the country? We'll talk about that, but look who is. It's Oregon. How many teams is the Big Ten getting in? Like, it's not a matter of will the Big Ten or the SEC get 1 in. Will they each get 4 in is the biggest question. Will the ACC get 2? Will the Big 12 get 1? Who's the G5 team? Those are the real conversations we're having this morning. If, in fact, this season ends and the Big 12 only gets 1 team into the college football playoff, that is damaging for this league. It's damaging for recruiting. It's damaging for value. It's damaging for credibility. There is no way to spin now that this has been nothing short of a disaster of a football season for the Big 12, and they needed it to be everything but. And I'll continue to say that when you look at the Big 12 and you go top to bottom in this league, the teams that continue to perform at the bottom of this league are what's wrong with the Big 12. Joey McGuire and Texas Tech. And I know Texas Tech fans lost their minds last week when I said it, but I'll say it again. This defense humiliates Texas Tech on a weekly basis. Texas Tech's defense gave up 49 points, I think it was, or whatever, to Baylor. Baylor dropped an absolute nuke on your defense. Is that not a shot over the bow? How is Utah firing Andy Ludwig and no changes have come to places like Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Lubbock, Texas? How is that possible that here we are having a conversation about the Big 10 or the Big 12 panic room, and nobody in Lubbock is sounding the alarms, and nobody in Stillwater thinks changes need to be made? That's what's wrong with this league. Yet every Big 12 fan who wants to get in the comment section and say that they're tired of Utah and they're celebrating Utah's losses. One, it tells me that the Utah Utes are living rent-free across the Big 12. And what did, again, Utah do? They lost. They lost their 3rd time. They've lost 3 games on the season. And what did they do? They fired their offensive coordinator because they're 4-3. I said Utah fired their offensive coordinator because they're 4-3, because the bar in Salt Lake City is set very high. Apparently, Jake, the bar in Stillwater and in Lubbock is set very low.
Yeah, and you guys remember the conversation we had about Abilene Christian in week 0.
Excuse me. Say it correctly.
We remember the conversation we had about Abilene Christian and Tech giving up 51.
But Jake, those players were all at Texas, and they knew they knew the play.
And and it was all on Abilene.
Abilene.
Right? Well, it turns out that Abilene isn't the only college football team that can drop 50 plus on Tech. And I'm in this place where I don't understand how the folks in Lubbock, boosters, school leadership, whoever's making decisions in Lubbock, how do you not sit here and look at this and say, man, dude, like, this would have been a year where if we were good, we'd be contending for the conference. Do you understand that some years in the Big 12, like 10 wins is not enough to go out and win the conference? You understand that? Like, this year, 10 wins is going to be plenty fine to get to the championship game. You understand that? That's going to be plenty. But Tech's out here giving up 59 to Baylor. Like, how is that not alarming? How are you not sitting here saying, okay, we got to make changes, And again, I tend to agree. We're going to get to the comment section today. There's going to be all the red asses, all the hyenas out for Utah's throat, saying, oh, Utah this, Utah that, Utah sucks, Utah is terrible. Well, I got news for you. Utah might be terrible this year. They might be a 3-loss team. They might be suffering from a lot of issues, but they're doing something about it. It's okay to have a losing season. It's not okay to do nothing about it. And I just don't understand. Like, Baylor's a great example of this. Dave earned himself another season with this win right here, in my opinion. He's done enough now where you're like, yeah, you know what? They can really run the football. You know, they've got a mediocre ass quarterback, but somehow they're able to move the ball in the passing game a little bit. Like, you know, Dave's made some adjustments and they're improving. So at least in Waco, you have an excuse to keep Buddy around. But in Lubbock, I don't know what we're looking at. And in Stillwater, you guys know where we're at on the show. Like, at some point, you can't be this legendary coach and put out mediocre year after mediocre year. That doesn't work.
Well, I mean, now you're the worst team in the Big 12. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I'll even go to Oklahoma and that you fired Seth Luttrell, I think was exactly the right move. It's what you would expect when you have, you know, highly touted recruits and a quarterback room that can't perform. You look at what's going on in this conference. I think it is very much a difficult situation. And listen, teams like Oklahoma State and Utah, like look, UCF, I think UCF's a great example. UCF had aspirations of winning 8, 9, 10 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
And UCF is one of the biggest disappointments in this league. And we're not early anymore. We're more than halfway through the season. You're not fixing most of these issues. And again, I think you look at the situation in the greater scheme of college football. And this is where the Notre Dame conversation comes in. Notre Dame's likely getting into the college football playoff now.
Yeah.
And whose spot are they taking? Well, there's a real good chance if Notre Dame gets in, they're taking a second spot from the Big 12. That's the real problem with Oak State, with Utah, with UCF, that's where your spot is going, because you'd rather have, if you're the college football playoff committee, you'd rather have Notre Dame in than a borderline Big 12 team.
Yes.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah.
And I look at the ACC. I mean, you have two teams that have a legitimate shot of getting in. You have Clemson in Miami, and I know everybody at SMU is like, we're going to run the table. SMU's 22nd in the country. You have zero room for error. And I think one of the other things that's so crystal clear based on how the AP poll has gone, it doesn't matter if you win. Now it's a matter of how you win, because you look at the AP poll this week, and you look at some of these teams. How is LSU 8th? LSU is 8th in the country. LSU is not one of the top 10 teams in the country. How is Clemson 9th? Has Clemson not been one of the most impressive teams in the country this year? And they're 9th. How you win matters, and respect matters. Look at Iowa State. Why is Iowa State 10th in the poll and not top 5? An undefeated best team in the Big 12. And it's not arguable that Iowa State is the best team in the Big 12. Why are they not ranked higher? Well, because of how they won 38-35 over a disappointing UCF team. That's why they're 10th, and nobody watched that game. Oh, that's right. That's another problem. The soccer writers who vote in the AP poll don't watch Iowa State take on UCF and Ames.
Are they undefeated, or are they not undefeated?
That's it. And they're undefeated. Okay, you know, we'll toss them a bone, and we'll put Iowa State 10th. To me, this is a clear illustration of the haves and the have-nots. And I look at the ACC right now, and based on what you are looking at on the screen with this AP poll, the ACC is going to get 2. They're not getting 3.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that, you know, the bias to the Big Ten and the SEC is clear and frankly deserved. Now, I disagree with Oregon being the number 1 team in the country. I disagree with that assessment. I think that the performance Georgia put in is second to none, and we'll get into that. But you look at the AP as far as the Big 12 is concerned.
Oof.
And yeah, do you have 3 teams sitting in the AP top 25 right now? Yeah, you do. But does anybody really believe that those 3 teams are going to be top 12 come the end of the year? Because I'm not like, and hear me clearly. I love that win for BYU. That was one of the most scintillating fourth quarters I've seen in college football this year. That was a phenomenal game. But again, against who? And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah, you had to go to the wire against the worst team in the Big 12. And it is, I think that's notable. And I think K-State being at 16 is wild to me. I think Pitt being at 19. I think the Pitt's got an identity problem. That is that their offense is not fun to watch. Their defense is really good. But their offense is not enjoyable to watch. This is problematic. This is problematic for anybody not named the Big Ten in the SEC.
So when you look at this, consider the standings in the Big 12. Texas Tech had the opportunity to be undefeated in the Big 12. You had that opportunity until you gave up 59.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about when people are like, well, you guys are being dramatic about Tech. You guys are blowing this out of proportion. You guys are going too far with it. But are we really going too far with it when if you just hadn't given up 59? Like, we're not talking about only giving up 13 and losing. You gave up 59, bro, to Baylor. And now, because of that, not only, again, you're not in the top 25, obviously, but now you're in the second cut of teams by record in the Big 12. That's why that's a problem. That's why the in my opinion, the lack of intensity around that program is such an issue.
Yeah, I think it is very clear. If you're the ACC, you're getting 2. There is no way you get 3. And I think the Big 12 is going to get 1, and that'll be it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality of where we are. And I think you're going to get 4 from the Big Ten's going to have trouble with 4 just based on the results.
But look at their odds. Look, and this is what you have to understand: the percentages of getting more than 2 in. You've got 5 ranked teams in the AP top 25 out of the Big Ten right now. Now, that's not to say that 5 are getting in.
No.
But if you want to get like 3 in, you can't have only 3 teams in the top 25.
And how about another terrible loss for USC?
Yeah.
I mean,
got to talk about Lincoln. Got to talk about
again, bad situations. Is USC just going to stand by after the season and not make any changes with Lincoln Riley? I have a hard time believing that. Again, just because I know so many SC alums and boosters, they're calling for him right now. They want him gone right now. So it's really the Dave Arandas, the Joey McGuires, the Mike Gundy and his staff. That Casey Dunn is still employed is remarkable to me. That's what's so shocking. Is it programs that are supposed to be leading things and supposed to be winning and that are not, like Utah fires their offensive coordinator. Oklahoma fires their offensive coordinator.
Right.
And so many other, teams that had hopes just aren't doing anything about it.
But isn't that the precise issue in the Big 12 in a bigger picture conversation? If we look at the Big 12 and compare it to these other 3, the bar in the Big 12 is lower, right? The bar for success and the expectations are lower. That's what made it okay to hire Joey McGuire. I can't stress this enough. Like we're talking about firing Ryan Day after losing to Oregon. People are talking about whacking this dude after he brought in $279 million in the football program and is in the college football playoff conversation every year. But we can't get people to ask questions about Joey after giving up 59 to a terrible Baylor offense.
It's truly wild to me.
That's the issue in the Big 12. And I'm telling you guys, this could easily get fixed if people would just up their expectations and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're 3-1 in conference, but you should be 4-0. And we're not accepting that. That's not good enough, man. Like I just can't. I'm just telling you, I was watching these games over the weekend. I'm like, yeah, dude, you know what? Colorado's better. Colorado's competing. They look better. You can see the clear development.
That defense is good.
That defense is good. Like, okay, cool. We're heading in the right direction there. Maybe not, bowl eligible, certainly not in a championship game this year, but maybe that's in the cards next year. Like, remains to be seen. But you look around the conference, and I've been saying it since before the season. If Utah wasn't going to win this conference, you were going to be in a really bad place.
You were in trouble.
And here we are.
You were in trouble. And I think this is where you have to talk about losing Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
This is where you have to talk about losing the Missouris and the Texas A&Ms and the Nebraskas and all those teams over all these years that this conference has watched walk out the door. And again, I just ask, are you willing to do what needs to be done to put 2 teams, 3 teams into the college football playoff next year? Because those dreams are all dead now in the Big 12. You're getting 1 team, and that's your conference champion.
And by the way, to add on to that point, because it's a great point, you damn well better have 8, 9 teams in the tournament this year. You better. Because you only have one team going to the college football playoff. From a conference revenue standpoint, when everyone says, oh, well, why does basketball matter? Like, what are you guys talking about? Well, Monty, no, we're not doing that today.
Yeah.
One team in the playoff, this conference better be stacked in the tournament.
Yeah, I think it is. It's going to be very interesting to see how all that plays out. And then there is BYU. BYU stuns Oklahoma State late. And I think if this team was not undefeated, Aaron Roderick would be in a lot of trouble in Provo. Because whatever that BS at the end of the first half was, where you had your quarterback running around, almost getting sacked, throwing just a Hail Mary interception, and then getting injured. Thankfully, it turned out not to be serious, trying to make the tackle, when what you should have done and what everybody was saying was take a knee and let's go to the locker room.
Yeah.
And just the inexplicable ignorance about how important the run game is. The play calling at BYU aside, that Jake Retzloff throw to Darius Lassiter, his ability to move the football through the air and on the ground, the RPO game, the read option. I will again say Jake Retzloff is the only quarterback that should ever have been considered to be the starter at BYU. That's my goddamn quarterback.
Yeah.
And that throw to Darius Lassiter, that's one of the best plays in the post-Lavelle era of BYU football. It is sensational. It is spectacular. It is a throw that could only be put in that one spot or it was going to be intercepted. And then the run after the catch by Darius was unreal. And it gives you that belief that maybe there is something in the water in Provo this year. Maybe there is an avenue for this team to compete for a conference championship, to beat Utah at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Maybe there is an avenue for this team to really achieve something special, because it certainly feels like no matter what call Aaron Roderick puts in, they're going to win the game anyway.
Well, look, I think that throw to Lassiter for the game-winning touchdown there's a lot going on in that play. And, the thing that stood out to me watching the replay over and over and over again is it stands out that, first of all, Jake's incredibly prepared for the moment. Like, he understands, okay, this is what the defense is doing. This is the look. This is who I'm going to try and get this ball to. It was always going to go to Darius. You were always going to him. He's your number one guy this year. You were ready to go. And you talk about that run after the catch. Everyone's talking about the juke, making the defender miss to score. And that's a hell of a play. All the credit in the world to Lassiter. He's not making that play without the throw being right on the money. And that's the beauty of Jake's game. Yes, he turns the ball over. Yes, he does. And he turns it over too much. He turns it over to a point where I am concerned about it playing against better teams. I am. Not gonna beat Iowa State if you're turning the ball over at that rate. Like, I'm just telling you. But for now, he's getting away with it. And yeah, I would agree. If they can continue to play at this rate, they should theoretically come end of season go to Arlington. But I have to say, the play calling is what will limit them. Not running the football consistently will limit you. Putting your quarterback in harm's way will limit you. Asking Retzloff to run around and try to play hero ball when the defense is playing deep zone coverage is not a smart move. Like, I'm a huge believer, especially when you watch a team like BYU. I'm a huge believer. How many guys does the defense have in the box? Oh, they've got more guys than you can block. So they've got like 8, 9 guys in the box. Okay. Probably should pass the football or throw it out to the flat. Oh, they've only got 5 guys in the box. Let's turn around and hand it off to LJ.
Well,
like,
I think there was just some really. Listen, Jake Retzloff can't complete 50% of his passes in 9 out of 10 games. If Oak State wasn't so bad, and they are not good, if they were not so bad, Jake going 13 of 26 would have killed this team. The perfect example is the I don't know what the throw to the boundary, the screen pass, whatever you want to call it, to JoJo Phillips. Where he's throwing that ball 100 miles an hour. JoJo's not catching that pass. And the ball hits him in the hands. JoJo cannot, when you're in that position and you're trying to catch a screen in front of you and figure out who's coming at you, that ball's got to have a little more touch to help the wide receiver. The interception at the end of the first half, you can't make that mistake. You gotta, in my opinion, Jake's got to be more situationally aware. But Aaron Roderick's got to help him. You were running all over Oak State. Run the ball. Run the ball with commitment. Run the ball like it is your job. Your only job is to call run plays. Run the ball. That's the thing. And this was a special moment, and Jake Retzloff's going to talk about that in a minute. And this was everything that you'll remember, and it's one of the most memorable performances. But let's not forget that it took a very special moment to cover up a whole lot of black eyes in this game.
Yeah, and I think you got to talk about the defense too. I don't think this was just on the offense. Ollie Gordon, getting loose, running over your defense. He hasn't done that all year except against you. And
then they go away from Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, which is I don't know how you explain that. Like, like if you're Casey Dunn sitting up there, how are you not just like, yep, this is the 50 carry, 250 yard, just outlandish video game numbers for Ollie Gordon type game. Like, the opportunity was there.
Did he only had 16 carries?
And did what he did.
And you were leading for most of the second half is crazy to me. I don't understand when you're in a position to be in the lead in the fourth quarter. And I should say you were leading most of the fourth quarter. And you're not, and I understand he was injured. And if he's in the game, turn around and hand him the football.
Yeah.
He was dominating BYU. And anyway, my point is, run the football. You only ran the football 36 times. Run it 45 times.
Yeah.
You averaged 7 yards a carry on Oak State's defense. Run the ball 40 times. Why throw, in my opinion, throwing those, the second down play calling makes me crazy out of Aaron Roderick. If Chase Roberts and Jake Retzloff don't have unbelievable chemistry, how many of those third and fourth downs do they pick up?
Yeah.
I mean, it just, And I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade, and I understand that there's going to be a lot of BYU fans who are going, why the negativity, Marty? Because you better be honest about your football team. And I'm not as worried about the defense as I am about Aaron Roderick's play calling.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is weeks in a row where we're sitting here wondering, what were you thinking right there?
Well, and I just don't know that, like, again, I don't mean to hate on A-Rod, but it's not like they're difficult situations either. It's not like, you're in these really tough spots where,
No.
You got to come up with like, to your point, you're running for 7 yards a carry. That quite literally means that all night long you're in 2nd and 3. Like, you're in really, really elite and advantageous down and distance, and that opens the entire playbook, including turn around and hand it off, including run some RPO.
Stop putting this offense at BYU in 3rd and 10 with really bad play calls on 2nd down.
Right.
You're averaging 7 yards a carry. Run the football. Run the football more and more and more and more. I don't care if you run it 50 times because your defense was struggling to cover. Keep the ball out of Oak State's hands. I'm telling you now, the path for BYU to be a dominant offense is to run the football. LJ Martin, as I've said all year, is the most important player on that offense because when he's healthy, they're dominant. Let's hear from Jake Retzloff talking about that last play, the throw to Darius Lassiter that ultimately won the game for BYU.
I don't know, dude. It's a great concept. But it was just Darius made a great play on the ball, went and got it. In their 2-minute stuff, they do some drop stuff where they go like U coverage. They did it against us last year. Their U coverage stuff, and they haven't ran very much for this year. They did the man versions against us last year, but this year they drop out of it. So we knew maybe cut underneath them and then get the ball to the receiver before that middle like Tampa-ish player. Fit it between the linebackers. I don't know, bro. That's a bunch of football jargon, but I just saw him coming open through the ball. Like, there's a certain point, especially a 2-minute drill, where you just got to see the field, see areas of the field. It's zone coverage-ish, because always in the back end it kind of mans up. And just Darius made an incredible play, and that's Darius. That's 5 for you.
Spot on.
I think I'm a big believer, especially against what I call a zone that uses a shell over the top. And when you have those areas where you can throw the ball into, and as undisciplined as the secondary at Oak State is, in that they tend to overrun the football on a regular basis. And you saw it with Darius on that play. Darius Lassiter catches that ball, and he's running back towards the middle of the field, and you're just taking the completely wrong angle.
Yeah.
The wrong angle. And I think you heard it from Jake right there, that the Oak State secondary is very predictable. It is one of the issues that I think Oklahoma State has had, is that their defense, especially in dime, and to a more to the point in nickel, at least, they're very predictable on what their concepts are and what their guys are trying to do. And the other thing is Jake didn't have a whole lot of concern up front on that play, for obvious reasons. You're not sending the house against him when you're leading. But you felt like
he moved well in the pocket too. It's not like he got out and ran, but he shifted left into inside within the pocket. He moved left a little bit and gave himself a couple, extra moments there. But yeah, look, man, I think that BYU is capable of getting to the Big-12 championship game. That is within them. However, the play calling and the turnovers are going to decide just how far they get. Because, again, I can't emphasize this enough. If you're able to run for, 7 yards a carry on a bad Oklahoma State defense, that's probably only 3 against, again, Iowa State. But
again, how do we get to the Darius Lassiter pass? The 27-yard Jake Retzloff run.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the best moments of his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't mean at BYU, his entire football career. That fourth quarter drive. And it's what we've come to know him for. Are they the best team in the league? I don't think so. I think that there's no question in my mind it's Iowa State. But BYU has that certain little something that puts them in position to that put them in position to be undefeated and competing for a conference championship into Halloween.
And I think that ability to perform in big moments like that can't be undersold. I mean, it does take a certain intangible to not feel, because I don't believe that Jake feels the pressure of like a 2-minute drill. I don't think that's how it is for him. I think that like kind of what he was alluding to in the clip, like you're just basically playing football at that point. Your play call comes in.
Players win games, man.
Yeah, play comes in, you run the play, you know what you're looking for. You're either prepared or you're not, and he's very much prepared. And I just think that I like it happens in football. The play call comes in, you call the play, and you're like, "Yep, I know exactly what I'm going to be looking for right here. I know they're going to be in zone. I know the Tampa linebacker is either going to drop back, but I know I got a second." Like he understands, dude. So
what? Then why call a halfback option that leads to an interception in the red zone?
Because you're not smart. You're trying to get cute. That's why.
Like you're dominating the run game. And this, I think this is exactly why BYU will not compete for a conference championship. Because you're going to try to get cute. And I love the trick plays, but they've got to be in the right moment with the right guys. Are you asking Rapati? I think it was Rapati who threw the halfback option pass. Why? What is the thought process there? Why are you, when you're dominating with a guy in LJ Martin who you've been waiting all year to be healthy and ready, and he's shown you that he's healthy and ready, you throw and I think it's just idiocy in my mind. It's not even cute. It's not, we tried something. No. That was a horrible play call.
Yeah, anytime they're running trick plays, if Parker Kingston's throwing the football, you're going to be in a really good place. He played quarterback in high school. He can really throw the football. He is a perfect fit to run a trick play of whatever variety. But if it's Rapati or anybody else, put
it in the hands of a star player who's got it factor.
Yeah.
If you're going to, I don't even care if it's LJ Martin. At least that's going to suck the defense up because he's dominating you running the football. I don't know. I don't mean to belabor the point. Let's get into it. On the Monty Show, the comment section is always brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks. I don't know. I don't know what was more special over the weekend. BYU finding a way to get the ball to Darius Laster, or good old Uncle Monty. Good old Uncle Monty going 4 for 4 on Prize Picks this weekend. Absolutely dominating in baseball. I would just like to, listen, you guys know I'm humble here, and you guys know that I am somebody who does not believe in talking about myself in ways that would bring attention to myself rather than the malfeasance of Jake picking Prize Picks games. But Friday night, the Mets and the Dodgers, I would just like to say, listen, Ohtani, you're a jackwagon, which is why I did not pick you. I did pick Francisco Lindor, who I'm picking every single night that he's playing. Oh, that's right. I think I've hit it every time. Screw the Mets. The Dodgers are going to the World Series. Yeah! But Lindor, Friday night, 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He came through with 5. My man. And then last night, I just look at the greatness of Francisco Lindor last night. 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He came through with 2. Shohei the money. 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He came through with 5. Shohei the money. Absolutely getting the job done with the Dodgers scoring 5 runs. And then of course, we take, if my app would load, I would tell you exactly who I picked. Oh, thank you. We took Max Muncy for less than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Less. Thank you for striking out. Thank you for being terrible. Maxi Poo. I don't know, you guys. I just feel like I'm in that zone where I used to produce a radio show for a guy that was a gambling degenerate way back in the day. Like one of my first good gigs in radio was, and this guy was just such a gambling degenerate. Like he would gamble on how many corn kernels were in your, never mind. My point is, and he would always say to me, Tim, and he called me Timmy, I can see it. I can see it coming.
You know,
it's like I'm a soothsayer. Take the over. And of course it would hit the under. Take the over. You know, the guy who's like, I have a vision from
in God's name,
from
image, and likeness.
Jesus Christ. As though I play at Abilene. As though I play it.
The first part.
Abilene against Texas Tech when we used to play there, and that's why we scored 700 points against Joey's shitty defense. Because I can see it coming.
Hot ass.
Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5, they give you 50 more. Boys, I took home $400 this weekend.
I can see the Gatorade cooler coming for your quarterback.
I can see not paying for golf anymore this season. Thank you, Prize Picks. And Francisco Lindor, who now I can't rely on anymore. Aaron Judge, does he win a World Series here?
Yes.
Do you think the Yankees are winning?
I do think the Yankees will outlast the Dodgers, yeah. Because they can hit with them. That's the thing.
Well, and neither one of them has pitching worth a damn. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Can Ferris Bueller's Day Off win a game? Probably two for the Dodgers. Can Walker Buehler come through and win games for the Dodgers?
He's going to be rested now.
He's going to have to win games.
Yeah.
They don't play that game. That series doesn't start until Friday.
Jeez.
So they're all going to be well rested.